All right, welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast. I'm Johnny, broadcasting from my home. That's Dave, broadcasting from his home, and broadcasting from the Acropolis, Sean Platt.
Platt.
He's not going to talk because he's so self-conscious about his... Look at him over there.
His nose.
You're supposed to talk, dude. This is the live show.
Because I was answering, they're talking in Slack about if maybe I have a second blab window open, which I don't.
No.
All
right. So today's show, and good news, because I'm sure Sean will be doing a lot of the talking today. You'll notice this on episode 217 as well. Sean just moved, which is actually a cool thing. It does impact the podcast quality until he can get some soft things in that room. While you were away, Dave and I were suggesting that maybe next time you broadcast from one of those big gymnastic foam pits.
Sean, you should get one of those thunder jackets that they put on dogs to calm them down.
Thunder shirt.
Yeah, thunder shirt.
What is that? I've never heard that.
You don't watch TV.
Oh, I like this. We should do a slumber party episode. That's a pretty good.
Yes,
that's a pretty good
all
idea.
of us in our PJs.
And Dave is also really uncomfortable because he's in the upper left because the Blab is really not cooperating today. And that is the worst place for Dave to be. Where I am, which is lower left, is... Well, no, you're still looking in the right direction, right? You just
but he wants to be a power bottom. And
It's good for camera angle. I don't like being on the right-hand side, which is usually what happens when you screw it up. But I don't like being on... it's not
when you screw it up, Johnny, it's all your fault.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about establishing sustainable business practices, which is the opposite of business practices that are... I would say this is a strategy versus tactics sort of discussion, right? I mean,
for sure. Yeah. This is long-term thinking, and so how much is my echo? Because my echo's bothering me now. So if it's bothering me, how much is it bothering you?
Oh, it's really, really echoey. The only thing I could think that you could do, and this is just me fucking with you,
put the mic up your butt,
is to take a towel and drape it over your head into the mic, so you're in your own little space, and it'll look awesome too. Is the best.
I'll do that. All right, hold on, I'm gonna try.
Maybe you could put it over the computer as well, so that it would be like you're in your own little.
It looked like that dude on Fat Albert that had the thing over his face.
Or it'd be like that's like one of the scenes in the Blair Witch Project where they're up against the camera.
Quick. Dave, quick, make a joke about Fat Albert with a thing in his face.
All right, so it's a little distracting to begin while Sean is making his fort.
What's happening?
Did we start the episode over?
No, this is great for audio.
All right, Dave, so tell us about something cool. Save this travesty.
Wait, I have something cool.
Okay.
So for those of you on the audio, Sean now looks like he might be, I don't know, in the witness protection program or something.
Is this working?
It actually is.
All right, awesome. Here we go. All right, so I have something.
All right, so this is all. Let me do the intro again. I'm Johnny. That's Dave. And our guest today is Grimace.
This is the best worst show ever.
All right, so can I do a something cool?
Why don't you turn your camera off, man? Because it is going to be really, really, really hard to take you seriously.
No, I like it better this way.
All right, it does sound better.
It's really fucking hot though. Oh my god, I feel like I'm in Dune. All right, so my something cool is last week's boot camp, which went better than even expected. Like it was really awesome, and the feedback on that has been really great. And the apprentice program was super, super cool. And some people listening to this, if they weren't in boot camp, would know what that is. But we decided to, on the back of the boot camp, launch an apprentice program. We're going to work with a few authors.
Are you able to take any of this seriously, Dave?
No, I can hear him go fine. We're going to work with a handful of authors over a period of 8 months and kind of work on our right to market projects alongside them and use that to kind of build our course that will be available to everybody next year. And this is one of those win-win-win things where, you know, we'll benefit from working with these people individually. Everybody who buys the course will benefit from that relationship. And then it will trickle down to the podcast and all the other free stuff that we do, as we have nuggets to share along the way. So the apprentice was kind of our secret idea that we weren't going to share until boot camp. And the response to that was like overwhelming. We're actually still telling people no because the cutoff date was Tuesday, and requests are still coming in. So that was way more, I guess. The response was way better than we expected. But I think that what's going to come from that in the next 8 months to a year is just going to be really, really cool for everybody.
If anybody wonders why I'm missing things in the chat or whatever, it's because I'm going to hide the window. I can't take the show seriously. He's very, very difficult. It does look like Grimace is joining us today. But anyway, you people have suffered enough. So my something cool is I actually told Sean to go, and he probably won't, but I think he should. In the Austin Art Museum right now is an exhibit called Book from the Sky, which my family and I went to see, and I thought it was really pretty awesome. It's this Chinese artist created a book in like complete the way that a traditional Chinese book would be written, but he made up the entire language. So it's he created 4,000 new Chinese characters, which are kind of apparently, as I understand this, because I don't speak or write Chinese, kind of hauntingly familiar to people who can read Chinese because of the way that the characters are done. They're in the correct style of other characters, and it would be kind of like reading a book that's entirely gibberish. And it's just as an author, it was fascinating to me because it was like they're in full sentences, and the subheads and the chapter titles are all done this way, and very, really, very fascinating. So I think, like I said, I think Sean should take his family there, but it was super cool.
That does sound cool. I will. I mean, that does sound cool. I will.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I just can't stop laughing at Sean.
I love you.
You love me. My something cool. TV show Preacher, AMC is
preacher, free teacher.
Wow! You get back under the blanket.
That's Eminem's Criminal, dude.
It's based on a comic, which is really dark. I haven't read the comic. I know about it though. And the show is just freaking awesome. It's like 3 episodes in so far, so you can still catch up. Would you stop? Oh my god!
Okay, I'm seriously. You got to turn your camera off or something, or otherwise this show's gonna be terrible.
I don't know how. If you tell me how, I will.
Okay, well, I'll just hide my window.
And Tammy reminds me of the other cool thing this week, the Girl with All the Gifts trailer, the movie trailer for a book that I absolutely loved. The movie looks phenomenal. Can't wait until it comes out. Although I almost advise, if you're going to read the book, don't watch the trailer because it gives away a rather big part of the book, even though you learn early on.
You always say that, but it's like chapter 1.
I know, but a lot of people agree with me. A lot of people agree with me on this. It's something that you're better off not knowing about the story because it's some of the mystery of the story you don't know going in.
That's true, but it does get resolved very quickly.
It does, but still, if you want to experience the book fresh in the way it was intended, without a massive early spoiler, then I suggest not watching the trailer and reading the book.
I get that, and I understand what you're saying, but like I've seen in reviews for Axis of Aaron, some people reviewed it this way. They say just go in cold. Don't just
playing peekaboo. Jeez.
Don't just go in cold. Don't anything I say about the book will spoil it, and that's sort of what the reviews say. And I think that you have to have a huge amount of trust to invest that much, not the money, but the time in a project that you literally go in totally cold with. And that I think is the trick right there. Is I didn't know this author before, and I went in cold because Dave and Sean were raving about it so much. So I don't know. It's really kind of hard.
That's the book that Yesterday's Gone lost to in the Audis.
Yes, Grimace.
Yeah.
Also, another cool thing, although I haven't read it yet or even bought it, M.R. Carey, the author of Girl with All the Gifts, has a brand new book out. But right now I'm reading another book called Dead City. So I
how is that?
The wedding scene is awesome.
You dick.
No, I'm very early on. I'm like 6-7 chapters in. The chapters are short though, so.
I don't mean to spoil anything.
Like 100 words.
I don't mean to spoil anything, but there are zombies in that book.
Oh wow.
We wrote a short, Johnny and I, for that book. I don't know. We'll talk about it when
you'll see this play out when we launch the Indie Fiction
there's a whole
podcast.
promotion.
This was
here.
very deliberate. There's a lot of marketing ninjutsu, I feel, in this.
Yeah, and we're really excited about it. But just in the short story, we talk about lead capture and what we could give away to our readers that's exciting to them, that they would actually want. And we came up with what we think is a really good concept for a short story, and it's called Empty Nest, and it's kind of a backstory for like maybe a 4 or 5 paragraph passage in the actual book. This is like the backstory for that passage. And and I read it out loud to my family yesterday, actually.
Oh my God, your poor family.
Yeah, they loved it. My son cried. And Haley said it was her favorite thing I've read out loud, and Cindy loved it too. So
it's so dark.
Yeah, really dark. But they liked it. They liked it a lot.
Yeah, Dave's got wood, I think, right now. Speaking of Dave's wood, I was a little surprised by the something cool, because there was a guest something cool here that this would have been a something cool by proxy that I wanted to mention that Dave didn't mention. Do you know what I'm going to say, Dave?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. So
Dave Wood didn't tip you off?
I'm driving. Well, Dave, I'm driving on Monday, and my phone rings, and it's David Wright.
Oh, I was going to save that for worst show ever.
Okay, well, so I'll just give the punchline since I've begun this, and that's that you hit 10,000 steps, I believe, for the first time ever, right, in our contest. So awesome.
And his ankle fell off. It was crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I haven't moved since.
All right, and as a last cool thing, I will mention that this company that I've never heard of before, but that is really apparently great, and apparently we've mentioned it on every show for the past 150 episodes or so. So who knew?
Well, Buddy Guy has a related question. Hey, Dave, if Grimace were to need a book cover, where would he go?
Okay, well, this is actually a logo.
You better keep it away from the Hamburglar.
So we're doing a 99 Designs logo contest for, well, it is a contest, but that's how 99 Designs does things. So we're doing that for, basically we're having a logo done for the LOL imprint that we have, the comedies, and we're doing it through 99 Designs. And we've gotten a whole bunch of entries so far, and just if people want to check it out and vote on them, basically I went in, this is the first time I'd done this. I went in and I had to ask Dave, like, what do I do? Because he's always done these before. And so we, you go in and it asks you, what do you want? Do you want a logo or a book cover or whatever? And it takes you to, in this case, logos. And then you can pick a few colors if you want. Like, we didn't have specific colors, so I said the designers can choose. Described what it was that we did. It was real simple, and submitted it. And the logos just started coming in right away. And we have just 80, I think, in the first round here, and there's another 2 hours left. So if people are, if you want to go vote on logos you like, I actually haven't registered any votes myself, like stars. But I need to do that to weed them out. There are a few that I really like here. And it's sterlingandstone.net/go/LOL. So check that out and get in on that. And that, like I said, that's from 99designs.com, who does logos and book covers. And Dave's saying things and I can't even hear him. So go blab during the ad read.
99designs.com/SPP. If you want a logo, what is that wind I hear? Is that Sean or me? Oh, that's my fan. Holy crap. I want to yell at you. Yes, 99 Designs is the place to go for book covers or logo designs or web art that you need or posters that you want. Pretty much anything you can think of, they are the place to go. And we're using for this contest. You can
This
check
ad
out how
sounded
awesome
a little
it is.
bit legit. Can we do anything to soil?
No.
Next
We've
one,
done
next one.
enough bullshit. Let's get to the topic. But before I do that, it's 99designs.com/SPP. And you use that link, you get the Power Pack upgrade, which is valued at $99, and it gets you more designer time and attention. You'll get more entries. You'll have more to choose from. Anyway, so and just in line with what Sean was saying about enhancing the tomfoolery, I was just trying to imagine, we have a larger live attendance today, and I'm just trying to imagine people that are coming off a boot camp who maybe had never seen the show, and this is the show they get. This is the first one with all the jackassery. So maybe we should get to topic.
Christy James wants to know why Sean's covering his head.
I'm in trouble. This is my timeout blanket.
I like that purple blanket, though. I want one.
It's not a blanket. It's Cindy's yoga mat.
So just to be clear,
I
Sean,
don't want that then. I don't want yoga.
I know that you're trying to give yourself some air and just let us see you like you look like Dave said, you look like a Jawa, but it's actually more echoey now, and you need to do the full thing. Do it. All right. So I'm gonna hide the window. Yeah, it's much better. I'm telling you, that's what Audra's going to tell you to do from here on out.
Okay, I'll do this if Dave puts his finger up his butt.
It's already up my
Dave
butt.
doesn't have an echo problem.
No, I'm talking about solving mine. Audra said that if Dave puts his finger up his butt, my echo will go away.
All right, let's talk about sustainable business practices.
This isn't
because
fair.
this is the right environment for it.
Oh, I hate you all.
Go.
Well, I can't. I'm under a blanket. All right.
Well, just take it off and talk.
Just be echoey, because we're never going to be able to get through anything. We'll just have to have some
This
echoey.
show is just shit.
Yeah.
All right. So, so sustainable business practices mostly just mean, I mean, we talked about like ergonomics and stuff like that, right? As far as, oh, Dave's gone.
You know why he's doing that? Because now when he comes back in, he'll be in his right spot.
Oh my God, that was on purpose?
No, I doubt it, but it works.
All right. Scott Moon wants to know if butt fingering is a sustainable business practice. If you're a hooker, I think it's these things that you want to pick that you can do for a long period. And I'm going to use an example here. We used her as an example a lot during last week's boot camp. Is Lori Starkey. And Lori is amazing, and she wrote 50 books last year, and we saw her, I kid you not, last week write a book in one day, a 45,000 word book. She did it in one day. She sustained 3,000 words for 15 hours.
Which just for a benchmark, I can't sustain 3,000 words for 1 hour, for 15 minutes.
Right. And she actually, you're not going to, someone's asking if you can spell her name. She
writes under pen names.
Yeah, she writes under pen names. She has several pen names and they're all doing well because she's a ninja. But she plotted out her day for 15 hours, and she scheduled in some bathroom breaks and eating breaks, but it was a marathon. She was determined to do it, and she did it. And what's funny is that she didn't want to just prove that she could do it. She wanted to prove that it would be a good book. And so far, a lot of her usual 4-star reviewers are giving it 5 stars. Like, her audience loves it. And that's the punchline here too. She actually had the book done and ready to go for her ARC readers 2 days after she wrote it. So just amazing, right? But having said that, I don't think that's sustainable. And I worry about Lori a little bit. Like, I caution her to slow down a tiny bit. I think it's amazing. I think she's amazing. I think what she's doing is amazing. I think the points that she's proving are amazing. But I don't think that's sustainable. And I think you have to worry about your health, and you have to worry about your physical and your emotional health. You have to worry about still being interested in what you're doing and still having drive to get up early and do it every day. And I think that doing that kind of pace can burn you out. Johnny was doing 8,000 words a day back when we first started. And he was real adamant going into 2015, like, look, dude, we need to cut back because this isn't sustainable. So it's not just about word count or whether you have a sitting or a standing desk or whether you walk during the day, but it's about how you build your day. Because a sustainable business is going to be resource efficient. It's going to be, it's going to behave
knowing, what you have available, whether that's, the people you use to outsource, the time you have in the day, the money you have to divide between, covers and edits and marketing and learning and all of that stuff. So that's what we want to talk about. Just things that, will help you to do more with less over a longer period of time.
Yeah. So I've actually faltered a bit on my current speed, and I've joked about this a little bit, but there's definitely a truth to it. That some of the things that I'm now seeing, because I used to get this comment, people used to say, "Wow, Johnny writes so fast. I feel like I'm not doing enough." And so for that reason, we kind of stopped mentioning those word counts because I didn't want to be discouraging people. And there's no point in comparing yourself to other authors. That said, I now feel that way. Like I see other people like Lori, and she's by far not the only one. We know a bunch of other people. And I'm like, shit, I am not going fast enough. And it's so not the right way to look at it. Currently, I'm writing book 7 in the Invasion series, Resurrection. And that whole series is doing really well. The entire series is probably selling 400 copies a day, and it's not complete. And there is pressure, but it's really more just finishing up a series 7 books in it's just tough. It's like trying to bring all those things back to center. So I've actually been lagging, and there's not a lot of stress at all, but there's definitely pressure. There's like, okay, we have an Amazon pre-order. I think it launches mid-September. I know I need to get it to Sean by a certain time so that we can send it off to, have it edited and then formatted and all that stuff and beat the Amazon deadline. And this is pushing the limits of our current sustainability right now. But that's just because we kind of got ourselves into a situation where we don't maybe have things done ahead of time the way that we will after this book. Like this is the last one.
This is the last book.
Sands.
Right. This is the last book for a long time. And same for me and Dave, hopefully also. Like we're kind of up against Dave sheepishly smiling.
I hate deadlines so much.
Yeah. And but actually to that credit, you have to know what works for you. And actually, as much as Dave hates them, deadlines do work better for him than just soft. Whenever it gets done, it gets done. Because in that case, it often doesn't get done. Both the Available Darkness books, the second and the third one, were just, hey, whenever you can do these. And they both took, half a year. So that's
going to be a book, though.
That's a long time.
Good fucking book.
It is very good so far. It is very, very good. So yeah, right. Stacy says that well. Deadlines work, but I still hate them. Yeah, Dave can hate them, but they do work. You have to know what works for you, and you have to know what is, what's sustainable. What's not going to rob you of the thrill and the joy of
know your why. Say it.
Know your why. Yeah, know your why.
You do have to know your end game. So actually, what Lori is doing, since we're using her as sort of an example here, I think is awesome if she understands what it is. If she expects to keep that pace up, and that is her plan. I am going to produce this many books every year, and if I don't, then my plan isn't to, you know what I mean? It's stacking pressure and that sort of thing. One of the things that she won't care if I just say this, she uses Amazon pre-orders as deadlines. And if you miss Amazon pre-order, that's very bad. They ban you from pre-orders for a year. They passively aggressively email you and all of your people and say, I'm sorry, your author doesn't care about you and is so unprofessional. They don't really say that, but it's very close. And so if you did that, like Amazon won't let you set pre-orders way far out, but if they did and they let you set them 2 years out and you plan 2 years worth of that frenetic pace, then that's ridiculous. But I think that Lori knows what she's doing.
If George R.R. Martin was an indie author, he would lose his ring like a long time ago. Would have lost it.
Well, if he was an indie author, he'd be broke because it's all about, indies have to publish more than that. But it is about only building things. I know I use weight loss and diet and exercise and stuff as a parallel often, but that's because it's so apt because people will do that. When you're trying to lose weight, you have to, or exercise, you have to design your workout program or your diet with something that's sustainable. Because if you're just starving yourself, that's not sustainable. At some point, you're going to binge. If you're going to the gym 2 hours a day, that's not sustainable. You're going to burn out. So you have to say, I can realistically, eat moderately well and be a little bit more relaxed on the weekends and go to the gym 3 times a week. Like, that's sustainable. You could do that for years. That could become your lifestyle instead of just something you're doing.
Yeah. Compliance to anything is always more important than a short-term gain.
Right. And you have to, I think this is the same thing. When you're talking about sustainable business, you want to build a lifestyle, because that's what we're all trying to do, right? We're trying to get the most out of our creative business so that it becomes our lifestyle. So, I mean, for me, the edges between my life and my business are very blurry because I love what I do so much. So it's not like I need a lot of free time because I enjoy what I do professionally. And so it's part of my lifestyle. But in doing that, I need to really make sure that I'm orchestrating a lot of sustainable practices, because I feel like there can't be waste in my day. I feel like I have to make sure that I'm doing stuff that really matters to the company's bottom line, to the company's culture, and to my motivation and what I want to do. I feel like if there's waste, it's a tax on my legacy.
Ultimately, that whole like know your why, know your end game is kind of a big deal. If you are in this for a long term, the reason that I said, and I actually kind of went off on a tangent there that I then didn't finish. So my norm did used to be, I think it was actually 7,500 because it was 35,000 words a week that I was doing. And I did Monday through Friday. At least at that point, I was already building in weekends to refresh. If you work 7 days a week and you don't have any, then that's maybe a problem too. But when we did get to the new year and I said move to 6, that's what I'm even having trouble keeping up with now. But that I don't want to go lower than 6. Like that's the balance point for me, where there's eustress.
But don't you think that 6, what's keeping it difficult for you now isn't that
it's not knowing what is happening next.
Yeah,
if I know exactly what's happening, then I got it.
I mean, this whole year has been a struggle, but it was needing to move. Then it was actually moving. And now it's that we're at the final book in a 7-book series and we have to wrap everything up. And there's a lot of heavy lifting that book has to do. And so it's more difficult, but it's not that 6,000 words is more difficult than it used to be. It's that you've had a lot of shifting circumstances that have kind of conspired to make that a little more difficult, right?
Yes, but there's also a know thyself element to this. And, the way that I normally work is I have a word count I want to hit, but I have a time period that I need to hit it in. And so most of the time, I won't work past 11 a.m. because it's diminishing returns. It's banging my head against the wall. Now, that said, I did do that yesterday because I wanted to catch up. I kind of wrote all day. I took little breaks, but I knew it was just that day. And so when I'm starting to reach that point of fatigue, there are times when I have to kind of bail because I know that it's just there's kind of no point. And I think that structuring, knowing when to take those breaks and knowing when to say, okay, enough is enough, not just in writing new words, but in the business in general. So Sean mentioned his lines blur a lot. Mine usually don't. And that's one of the ways that I'm more sustainable is I know that I can work as hard as I need to up until 6 p.m., but then I don't do anything after. And I do almost nothing on the weekends work-wise. And that allows me to be working at a more intense pace during the week. That's how I am. That's knowing myself.
And again,
he is intense.
For Dave, there's no lines whatsoever, right, Dave? It's just like
I work all week and I work every day. And
Dave takes his notebook to dinner with his family. I hear, and not even a joke.
But seriously, Dave, right? Like you don't have. I mean, really, a schedule doesn't exist, right? And if it does, it's only sporadic.
And my schedule changes according to other obligations I have, like family stuff and sleeping, all of those things.
Yeah. So you have to know. I mean, personally, I couldn't work without a schedule. I can blur the lines between professional and home, but I need a schedule.
Like I need a schedule. I need to know when I'm working. Like right now, baseball is just hard. Ethan is in All-Stars.
Yeah, I don't know how you're getting anything done, honestly.
Yeah, the way All-Stars works is so you have games on the weekend and it'll say like, okay, the first game is at 8 a.m. And then that's all you know. And if you win, there's a game at 10. And if you win that, there's a game at 2. And if like, but you don't know until
if you win, there's another game. That's some hell of a reward.
And then, you know,
you get to go home. It's over.
And they're like an hour or more away from home. So you can't just drive home in between the games. So you just end up spending all day. So that's very difficult for me because I can't plan around it. So being able to plan makes a big deal. And I think that's it. If you're talking about, we should talk about resources because I think that's what sustainability ultimately is. It's resource management. And for us, resource management means a lot more than just time. We're talking about money. We're talking about employee time. You know, we're talking about which projects where we put our attention. So attention management is something.
Yeah. But I have something. Go finish your thought. Sorry.
Well, even if you're just a solo creative here, I think that talking about attention and time are two resources that you absolutely have to manage because you need to keep your enthusiasm high because as we've talked about over and over and over, it's losing that enthusiasm is what leads to writer's block. It's what leads to frustration. It's what leads to burnout. It's what leads to not being sustainable.
There's a little bit of an inside thing here, and I actually didn't think of it until Sean started talking about the other, you know, things you sustain and resources. So, Sean, what do I say? What's the question that I have a lot when you propose something?
Is it sustainable?
Right. So when my favorite example of all, and we categorize this in iterate and optimize.
Is this the social media thing again?
When we decided we were going to embark on social media. And holy fuck, I hope we have that episode somewhere of an early Authorpreneur's Almanac where you outlined what we were going to do for social media. And I think I curled up into a ball for several days while listening to that and thinking, motherfucker, there's no way we're going to be able to keep that up.
And there wasn't.
And there wasn't. Now, podcasts...
It never had any hope.
Podcasts are more of a success story because we produce, I don't know what the count is right now, but ongoing, I don't know, 7 or 8 podcasts. Or, you know, if you count the archive feeds, the ones that weren't going to continue, then I think we're up near a dozen.
I think 10.
That actually is sustainable for us because it's baked into our routine. We do self-publishing podcast and Worst Show Ever at the same time every week. Sean and I record Authorpreneur's Almanacs, and I block those for before. Not today. I didn't do this because we're at a weird time, but I block time for recording Authorpreneur's Almanacs before this, so it's still one block, and then I record a few Smarter Artists at the same time. So that's 4 podcasts just in one block. I actually don't usually do 8 questions anymore because it was less sustainable for me. And Sean's like, well, I love doing those. We'll do more. But we've managed to sustain most, you know, all of those. Like we haven't fallen behind on any of that because we baked it in. It's just
I think Dave fell behind on Walking Dave, actually.
Oh, I did actually notice that, but that's okay.
I'll be back.
I think the whole idea is you have to do more with less. So opportunity cost is another really big thing because if you're like LOL is a good example. We're getting the logo done right now. We've actually reconditioned a bunch of titles. We have, you know, like more than 10 titles that will be coming out over the next year. A lot of them are old. We just, you know, kind of let them sit there and didn't really do anything with them. And we love them. Like I've been going through them and they're making me laugh really hard while I'm reading them. And so I'm just kind of delighted. And I would love nothing more than to write some new stuff for that line. But that would be expensive for us because something, you know, like I don't love it as much as I would love more literary stuff. But then again, it's definitely not commercial in the way something like Invasion is. So can we really justify it? Like you have to really ask yourself those questions because it's not just wasting money. You know, you can easily waste money on Facebook ads or Amazon ads if you don't know what you're doing. But waste is time and attention too. It's any cost which doesn't produce value to your readers, to your community, or in our case, our company. So we really have to ask ourselves those questions. Is this something that we're going to get a return on? And just you, solo author out there, you need to ask yourself those questions because it's really easy to be squirrel and think, oh, I got this new brain fart. I have this idea. I have this book I want to write.
but ask yourself is if it's really serving your ultimate why, and if it serves the sustainability of what you're actually trying to build.
If you decide you want to start a new pen name, it's not just new books. It's, if you're doing things the right way for most situations, you're going to have to create a website. So you have some landing pages. You're going to have to create a new mailing list, and that includes all the forms. And if you have autoresponders, it means you're going to have to start emailing those people regularly so the list doesn't atrophy and just go away. You have to look at what is the long-term effect of anything that you're doing. Another way that at least Sean and I handle things, because we are multi-genre authors, is we're very careful about our production calendar, and we would never do anything like put a season of The Beam, which takes at least a quarter of a year, next to, I don't know, the final series in something else that's really hard because it's just so intensive. We tend to, just between books 6 and 7 in the Invasion series, I had a week of reconditioning the comedies, the LOLs. We've done that. When I was moving, it was like, okay, I can't pay attention, so I'll write adult videos. And we stagger things so that, okay, well, we're going to do this genre, and then we're going to do nonfiction, and then we're going to do this genre. And for at least for the two of us, that keeps us fresh. I'm enjoying book 7 of Invasion a lot. That said, I'm very much looking forward to what we're going to do next, which is a total change of pace.
Right. And you have to know that, you can, what's the adage? To improve is to change, and to be perfect is to change often. Right. Like you need to keep it going. You need to know, because we all hit these roadblocks, and a lot of times we just muscle through them. I think Dave's actually a really good example of this. He'll hit a hard time and he'll just like work through it, and I think it's much healthier to take a step back and say, why was that difficult? Why wasn't I feeling that? What about that was causing me roadblocks? And then just remove those hurdles with the next thing that you build, because otherwise you're going to run into the same wall over again. It doesn't disappear. You don't become a different person. Your habits don't, all of a sudden evaporate. You have to realize that you're not living in a vacuum and figure out what about it can be improved, because if you can improve it, you're more likely to sustain it.
Money is obviously a concern as well. I know that some people sweat the idea of, this is sort of an anti-example, in my opinion, of worrying too much about sustainability. Like, oh, well, I need mailing list software, and that's going to cost me $30 or $40 or even $50 a month. That's kind of a low cost of doing an actual professional business. But that said, if you start a high octane Facebook ads campaign, those things sort of have a momentum of their own. And if you want to keep pouring money into something like that, and even if it's working, it might, it takes several months to get paid from the booksellers. And if you're shelling out and you need to keep that momentum up and you aren't receiving the money for a while, you're going to run into a roadblock. You always need to be thinking forward rather than what can I do right now? Or, you have an opportunity cost because you've committed to something, and then a new opportunity comes up and you can't take advantage of it because you're like, oh, I got to do that thing that I don't want to do anymore. But I thought at the time I wanted to do it. I said that so completely.
There's a lot of times that like I don't think things through, and like I'll commit to something, like, or I'll like plan something. Like I can't tell you how many websites or comics I've like, oh, this is awesome, I can do it, and I'll just go whole hog, and then I'll realize, oh, this is going to take a lot more time than I've thought of. And Sean and Johnny have kind of saved me from doing more stupid shit that I don't really have time for.
Well, it sucks too because
it's inflation.
Yeah, because we hate it when Dave pops our balloons, right? But he'll come to us with an idea, and we want to cheerlead him because
Dave's excited about something.
Yeah, Dave's excited. That's awesome. Mikey likes it. But then like, well, what about Available Darkness? We gotta finish that first. And there's not your time is not a bottomless well, and you have to understand that. And it's very easy to get carried away and to think about all the possibilities instead of the realities. And I, of all people, like I love to think about the possibilities, but I have to consider the realities, or I'm letting everybody down. And that's you have to put your focus there, because otherwise you will burn out.
What do you think are the best ways to sort of establish a sustainable business from where you are right now? I'm thinking an inventory of what is it that's on your plate and that you can't outsource.
Yeah, I would say you actually need to start one step back. I think you said it earlier in the show, which is start with the end in mind. We've talked about that as a means to write a book, right? If you start with the end in mind, there's a lot of foreshadowing you can do. There's a lot of story architecture that you can do, knowing where things are going to go. And your business is the same way. What is it that you want to accomplish 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 1 year from now, 3 months from now? Just keep shrinking that prism. And at some point you say, okay, well, if these are the 5 things that I want to accomplish at the end of this year, then how do I do that? We do that every year. At the end of each year, we say, these are the goals that we have for Sterling and Stone. And we it's a compass for our year. It helps us shape our decisions. And we say, okay, are we on track with the things that we said at the end of 2015 that we want for 2016? And
I just recorded those Almanac episodes, by the way. So.
Yeah, and I haven't heard those, but I'm really excited to, because we had a very ambitious goals list for 2016.
We're doing well.
Yeah, and we're halfway through the year, and we're also halfway through the list. And so we're
more than halfway through the list.
We're on schedule to do everything that we said that we were going to do this calendar year. But that wouldn't happen on accident. It wouldn't happen if we didn't take the time to make that list and to, and I cheated on this list too, because, and Johnny's called me on it too. He's like, you asshole, you cheated, because it's supposed to be a top 10 list of, the things that we wanted.
My favorite is like number 9. And the goal for number 9 is hit mini goals for each of the imprints. And that's like, motherfucker took 30 goals and said, well, we'll just make them one goal and call it mini goals.
I did do that. But still, having said that, we're hitting them, right? So
Mostly.
it really helps to shape your year, but you have to take the time to take that inventory, to say, this is what I want. And then to say, this is the number of hours that I have. This is the amount of money that I have. This is the amount of tension I have, because you also can't steal from your family. Like, your family needs you, right? If you have, like, there's a lot of people in our audience with new children, right? You have to take care of your new children. Wherever you are in your life, you have to acknowledge the realities. When you sit there and make that inventory, it can't be a best case scenario. It really has to be, what are the realities of your situation, and how can you use those realities to frame your intentions and what you want.
And what are the resources and what are the most important things on your list? Because prioritizing that is really important too. One of the things that we've done a lot this year and the previous year is, what is our most precious resource? It's not money, it's time. It's time and attention and sort of emotional bandwidth. And
I think emotional bandwidth cannot be understated either. That's so important.
You have to enjoy what you're doing, or you're not going to have the enthusiasm to put more into it. And so one of the things that we have outsourced is a lot of our customer service. And you know what? It does decrease our personal interaction with people. It just does. But our options are, and some people don't like that. Like, that's just kind of how it is. And so, but our options are spend all of our time being really, really high touch and taking care, responding to every email ourselves and just doing the things that we used to do when we weren't too big, which is what we sort of hear sometimes. Or we can outsource those things and do what we feel is more important, like boot camp. Boot camp would not have happened if we had been focusing on all the stuff that wasn't sustainable for us to do.
If we had to answer every single one of those boot camp emails and do all of that, it never would have happened. It would have been impossible. Or that just becomes our full-time job, and we can't do that. There's no
emotional bandwidth for that either. It would exhaust us. So basically, like, I know it frustrates some people in our audience, but what it's like, well, so do you want us to produce more content for you? Do you want us to do more of what you want us to do, what you're here for? Or do you want us to respond to each individual email personally and uniquely? And you have to make those calls.
Right. And you have to do it within a framework too. So, you know, for our customer service, yes, we're outsourcing that, but we're also not outsourcing it to Zendesk. You know, it's going to the person who's handling customer service right now. It used to be Amy, who is a very long time person, part of our audience. And now it's Heather Thompson. And she's a I mean, she's been following Johnny.
Can I give a little bit? Can I give it a little bit of background? I mean, not personally, but can I talk about the history with us? You don't think she'd mind that, right? I'm thinking specifically the worst show ever thing.
No, I don't think so.
I can't imagine she'd mind that. So we did our interviews for customer service people, and we interviewed a bunch of people who they were all from within the community, which is exactly what we want to do. We don't want to, as Sean said, hire out to Zendesk because that doesn't fit the mood of our company. We want to sort of be intelligently sustainable, not just like, well, screw this, you know, let that be handled by somebody who doesn't know us. But that said, once we got into talking to Heather, it was like, so when did you start paying attention to us? She was paying attention to me when I was writing with IttyBiz. Now, if any of you were around for that, that was a long time ago, and it was way before even Johnny 1.0. So the stuff that I talk about with like the universe doesn't give a flying fuck about you and all the Johnny is intense sort of things I used to do, this was before.
Stalker.
This was like, yeah, I mean, way back. And then Amy was, you know, giving us names. And so she was like, well, Heather has communicated with you guys in email. So I went and I searched my email and I found that we did in one of the very first Worst Show Evers, Dave must have said something about disembodied penises on zombies from The Walking Dead. And Heather's like, just so you know, I went and talked to a friend of mine who's in the medical field and asked if a cutoff penis would float in formaldehyde.
Yeah, we were wondering if it would or not. We were asking, and we didn't know. So
and Heather gave us the answer. Yeah.
So that's the person we hired, is the point. The person who, and she has extensive customer service background, is very good at it. So it's not like, well, screw all you people, you know, let's just somebody who doesn't know anything about us. We chose somebody who was as close to our vibe as we possibly could get.
Josh Bowling in the comments says that isn't outsourcing, that's family.
Well, that's
exactly because we tend to make family decisions constantly. Like
Sean uses that term all the time.
That's what's best for the family. You know, that is what's best for the family.
Sorry, Dave, you have to go. Best for our family.
No, it's you know, when people are coming in or going out, that is the reason. That is the number one question. You know, what is best for the family? And it's all sustainability. That is what it's about, because it.
Long time listener, first time penis zombie answer.
Desiree says sounds like some kind of literary mafia.
Yeah, a little bit, but that's fine. We do have to protect our family, and we also think of the community as a family, and that's why, you know, we're not tolerant of people, you know, who are just rabble rousing within the community. Like they don't belong.
Which happens.
Yeah, our tribe is really. Our tribe is sustainable. Our community is sustainable because it's filled with a bunch of cool people. But if it was filled with a bunch of assholes, it wouldn't be sustainable for the three of us. We wouldn't be interested in it. You know, Smarter Artist was something we did, and we started paying a lot more attention to it after the summit because it became so real, and it was just a deeper thing. And we said, this is something that we want to pay more attention to. And that immediately made it more sustainable. So I think that whole like emotional intention is just way more important than a lot of people may give it credit for. And especially with the whole writing to market movement. And, you know, I know we just did this whole boot camp where we dissected Invasion and talked about, you know, writing to market. And we're doing this apprentice thing where we're writing to market books, you know, now with people. So it's not that we don't value that, because we do, but we will always, as a company, do our indie movies and our, you know, our blockbusters, because we have to balance that, and we have to make sure that, you know, we're not just making Schindler's List, but we're making Jurassic Park 2.
Yeah,
imagine if you combine those.
That would be amazing.
Schindler's Park. So one of the things, I mean, what Sean mentioned is, I actually don't remember how you put it because it was, you know, 30 seconds ago, is the idea of being, I mean, we talked about emotional bandwidth. We talked about just sustainability in terms of being happy with what you're doing. And our yearly literary project at Realm and Sands, I think, is a great example of this. So we do have our Invasion, which is very written to market and which does commercially very well because of it. We have some other books coming, in like The Apprentice and stuff that will be more commercial. But that said, we always commit this large block of time. And I even said to Sean, I was like, are you cool? Are we going to have time with doing the literary? Well, I want to do it, but are you sure? And Sean's like, well, yeah, that's what we do. And believe me, we are losing money for doing that. And if that was all we cared about, then it wouldn't work. But we're okay. We're sustainably okay based on Archer's input. Archer is our controller and money guy. And just common sense, like we know we're okay for what we want to do money-wise. And what matters most then is the fun ingredient. Like, yeah, we could write everything to market and I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't want to get up in the
because
morning.
Then it's just another job that,
right.
That it is, you're pouring concrete, you're doing whatever. But I said, actually, while I was reconditioning some of these LOLs, I said, dude, next year we have to make time for some LOLs. Like we have to, because they make me laugh too hard. And I love going to work and laughing that much. Like there's just some joy there that I don't get anywhere else. Like being able to laugh with words in front of you as part of like I'm editing and I'm laughing. That's wonderful. So I want to do more of that. And the literary stuff is totally like, there's nothing funny about it, but it's just very rich. It's creatively rewarding. And, we could spend, a quarter writing LOLs and, our literary stuff, and it's not going to amount to nearly what this few weeks of the 7th book of Invasion is going to do, just by nature of what the product is. But that's okay. We know our why, we know what we're going to do, and we know how to make our business sustainable.
All right. So let's finish, since that I think this topic has been well covered. I do miss the blanket effect. But I'll bet you're going to get some really ridiculous things to put in your office after you talk to Audra, which is going to be...
I have a giant Snoopy. It's like 6 feet tall.
Give it a shot.
Do you ever do dirty things with your Snoopy, Dave? I bet you do.
That's horrible. You're right.
I bet you do, though.
No.
I bet you gave your Snoopy a donkey hole, didn't you?
The show is going so well. We should have just ended.
All right. Well, thanks all the first-time listeners. Thank you for joining us. This is the sort of thing we normally do. All right. So thanks for listening to the Self Publishing Podcast. If you're live, we're going to do another one in just a few minutes because we're doubling up. And if you're not, then we'll see you next week. So thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.